Hi, in this video we are going to introduce you to the Autodesk Maya user interface. When you first press the button to start up Maya, if you have saved files, they'll show up here as recent files, but for today's purposes we are going to hit New. And when you hit New, you'll see that you get this fantastic window um, with several different parts. We'll start here in the main view window. This is the main view window, and by hitting Alt and pressing the different buttons, you get Orbit, you get Zoom, and you get Pan. And by switching around those things, you can move around your object. This gray thing you're seeing here, this grid, is the 0, 0 plane. So where these dark X's meet, that is the 0, 0 of the world. Anything moved off from that point is no longer on the 0, 0. And if I switch, this is an application tab where right now it's set to a rigging function, but we're going to switch it to what's called the channel editor. And in order for something to show up here, we need to create an object. So I'm going to go up to the options tab here, and you can see these tabs allow you to do different things within the program. Here's curves, here's polygons, here's sculpting, rigging, animation, rendering, FX, caching, custom, in case you want to make your own, Arnold, which is rendering, Mash, which is a destruction sort of particle thing, motion graphics, which are text and things, XGen, which is fur and foliage, and then Advanced Skeleton 5, which is a plugin, which is a rigging thing. So we're just going to go to Polygon here. And if you look just above here, the mode is set to rigging right now. So we would like to be in modeling mode. So I'm going to switch our mode, and you can see there's all these different modes here. Choosing which mode you have defines what controls you have up here in the pull-down menu section. So let's choose modeling, and then we'll quickly go through here. This is stuff you can do to the file. Here's stuff you can edit the object you create. Here's creating different files. This is another way you can create objects through here, through the tab, or from the pull-down menu. And select functionality, modify, display, various windows of sorts, meshes. Because we're in modeling, the mesh tabs are available to us. So if I'm just going to real quick here, click on this object, and you can see it's created a little box in the middle of our world. The center of that box is set to 0, 0. And you can see over here, these give you a numerical reference to what the location is of this object. So if I hit W on the keyboard, it allows me to have a movement key. So if you look over here, these are your tool choices. So if I were to choose a different tool, say mirror or something, you can see it would show up over here. But I don't want to do that. I just want the box. This button here is select. This button here is the lasso tool in case you need to select multiple parts of this box at one time. This is translation. This arrow, selecting this arrow moves it in that direction, which is Y. Selecting this arrow moves it in that direction, which is X. And if I spin it a little bit, selecting this moves it in Z. Actually, I think red is X and blue is Z. We were just looking at the side, but you get the idea. Also over here, if I change the numerical values in the channel editor, the box moves around. So I can very easily, if I need to, come over here and type in 0 numeric, and it numerically moves it back to the 0, 0 position. Now I like to think of this grid as a floor. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit so that it's sitting on top of the floor, and you can see that that raised at 0.51 units. So the other options we have for movement are rotation, and it brings up this gizmo, and it's just like the arrows where you can grab the arrows and move them around. Well, we can grab the rings and rotate those around. And when a ring is grabbed, it highlights in yellow. And then the outer ring, the outer ring moves it as per your camera. So our look here, whatever we're looking at, that's how the outer ring moves. And you can see it always follows you. So no matter where I am, I can move it as per the camera view. Great. And then if we look over here, right next to the move tools, this is what they call the outliner, and the outliner shows everything that's in the scene. So right now, the only thing in the scene, and you can see when I select it that it highlights over here, the only thing in the scene is the polycube, the P-cube 1. That's what this cube is named, and I can rename it to whatever, Mr. Cube. And now Mr. Cube here stands out as being an object. And if I go here into the attribute editor, there you can see there's stuff on the sides here. You can see that Mr. Cube now shows up as the mesh here. And if I go in here to the polycube makeup, I can alter the size and shape and the tessellation, the subdivisions, if I feel like it, of the object, and that becomes important later on because we can use those tessellations to manipulate the box. All right, so if we come up over here to the other side of the outliner, you have the different views. So I can have multiple views. Here's 4 different views of the same thing. I can also go in, if I hold down the space bar and hit right mouse button, it gives me what's called a marking menu, and I can choose different views from that. That's something you can get into when you're a little more advanced. Right now, you can go view here, panels here, and pick perspective or the orthographic views, front, side, top. Just stick to picking those for now, and then when you get a little more comfortable with the program, you can switch to that. It also gives you different options. Here's a 2 window scenario, and that gets rid of the outliner. That brings the outliner back. This allows you to also pick a view, or you can pick some of the other menus, the time menu, or look through a camera or whatnot. Great. All right, so we have a polygon picked, and I'm going to click on this window, and I want to revert back to the main bar there, right? So I was here, and I did the hotkey for that, which is spacebar. Spacebar switches you back from one view to the other. And I'm switching out of here back to the channel editor. This is the material editor. The material on there right now is called Lambert 1. And if we went to rendering here, you can see these are various types of materials that we can put on there. If I click on here, you can see now it has Lambert 2. You're able to change colors or rename this, or even put pictures and things on there. And we'll get more into that later. But for now, just so you realize, Mr. Cube, this is the transform attributes, or how it can move in the world. And I can lock those out if I need to. We won't do that now. These are all the different attributes that go along with the cube mesh controls, in case you want to add something custom to it. This is the window that gives you the buildup of the cube, how it's laid out, and then this is the material or the color of the cube that's put on top of it. So this cube is the very building block of almost all computer graphics. It is a very simple form of anything you see. You can, from this cube, you can make entirely rendered human beings that are almost extremely lifelike, almost so much so that you can't tell. But this is like the cell of that. It's like a cell in the entire body. um, so when we have a cube selected and we're in modeling mode, we have different attributes that we can do to it. We can affect this in different ways. These are things we can do. We can fill a hole or reduce mesh. You can see all these. Like if I were to hit smooth, hit yes, and it runs an algorithm on it that smooths out the box. There it goes. It smoothed it out to being round. That's a few too many divisions. So if I undo that a bit, it tries to take whatever shape you have and make it a circle. And with a box like this, it's a little rough. If I hit 0.5, oh no, I hit 5. It doesn't let me do points. And obviously it just made it a circle, which is ridiculous. And a hugely tessellated circle. So let's back out of here. There's our cube again. A lot of this stuff in here does different modeling functions, and we'll get into that, but just so you know that when you're in modeling and you have an object that you can operate on, you can come up here and choose from these tools, and they'll do different things. We'll get into that when in the section about manipulating polygon primitives. All right. Oops, let me get rid of that. Go away. There we go. The other part of what I'd like to show you here is just a simple save functionality. So you kind of understand. Oh, I forgot about this. So this down here is called the timeline, and if you were to create an animation, for instance, if I select S here, I can set a key on frame 1, and you can see it turns red here, and then I can take the box, and then if this is ticked here, which is called an auto key, I can move the box and it automatically sets a key there. And so you can see the box will now move from here to here, and this is all done here in the animation editor. You can select that key and delete it or copy it. If I delete that key, then there's no other key there. You can change the range, add frames to it. There's all sorts of playback information. If you had an animation, you could hit this. It works like a VCR. That's the last little bit of that. So most of the stuff you won't understand right away, but just for a real quick introduction, this is a great way to do it. Open Maya, create a primitive, and then go around and kind of look at what options you have open to you. When you're ready to move on, you just go File, and you go Save Scene. And when you save scene, that saves this entire scene. And you want to put it somewhere where you can find it, say your desktop, and you name it something you can retrieve, and it saves it as in what's called a Maya binary file. There's also a Maya ASCII file, just in case you want to be able to edit your file in code, but a Maya binary file is fine. We hit Save As, and then our cube is perfectly preserved. In the next video, we're going to talk about editing a polygon primitive object, and we will cover some more of the interface.